It breaks my heart still when I think about Charlie Kirk. And I think about how he didn't have a chance. I mean, his life was on one of the best trajectories ever. I mean, he accomplished so much and possessed the wisdom. Seriously, I'm not saying this to be gratuitously, grandiose in my encomia, my panegyrics, my paeans towards their late great Charlie, but he was so unique and so wise. But as I said, and as I suspected, and as it turns out I am right, when it came to women, he was most probably inexperienced, and I believe now people are saying he was a virgin when he married, I think at 27? She was 32? At least, because you never can tell these stories. On that date, on September the 10th of last year, he didn't know what would befall him. He didn't know that was his last day. He didn't know what, in fact, hit him and what would hit him. He didn't know this. He didn't know what was in store. And by analogy, he didn't know what was happening when he married Erika. Had no idea. The only thing I can say in her defense is I don't think she had the intellectual wherewithal to be that diabolical. I don't think she was a psychopath or anything like that, but I think she was a woman who was rather, who knew how to ply her, not her wiles, but her wares. She knew exactly what Charlie didn't know. And she rocked his world. I will bet you anything. And Charlie did it the right way. Charlie said, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait. And I'm going to say something, and please, I love that man. A young man. I have nothing but respect for him. But it's very easy sometimes when you are withholding giving of yourself, as they say, in premarital intromission and the like. It's a lot easier when you're afraid and you're not sure. And you're not actively, biting down on some piece of bark as you wait for the sensation and the lust waves to pass. I don't think that was it at all. I think it was an inexperienced, innocent young man who was duped, corralled, not illegally. It happens a lot. But she saw him coming. Oh, God, it was beautiful. She saw him coming. And she said, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to get him. That's the thing. And if you notice that piece, did Candace? Did Candace play this or Fredo? I'm not sure. But it was a kind of a give and take where Charlie was sitting there with Erika, and Charlie was saying, and you must understand that it's important to not give of your body before you're married. Right, honey? And she said, and we have to think of Jesus. Or she made some Jesus reference without really addressing the issue. Like, oh yeah, that's why I'm glad I waited, because there's no way in hell she did. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We're not living in the Victorian age. But it was kind of sad. It's like, Charlie, didn't you rehearse this before? Did you not know? Because what the problem with this is this, and I'm going to be very frank with you. You can withhold the pleasures of the flesh all you want. And if that's your offing or your option, that's fine. That's fine. It's up to you. But too much is made of that, and not enough made of the fact of his inability or refusal to acknowledge that he was up against one of the greatest predators ever. Young men, in addition to knowing that they to withhold or abstain or delay sex or whatever it is, that's fine. That's up to you. But they should also be said, but wait. Don't let somebody use that and tantalize you. If you're floating in hormones at the time, if you are going berserk, and if you've got someone and you know this broad had talent. She's been around. She knew what she was doing. You saw them boyfriends. You knew, huh? She knows what she's doing. She knows a little bit about the horizontal mambo. Oh, yeah. She probably showed him stuff he never heard about. Here's a Cleveland necktie and a headboard coma. And I mean, he probably didn't know what the hell hit him. And she knew. And that can be almost like the reverse of somebody coming off of a drug, of an addiction. This is somebody about to enter the on-ramp of addiction. You know what I mean? So we've got to tell our young men, look at Charlie. Because you know he wasn't happy. You know for a fact. And by the way, Candace was so clever. When she said, this is very interesting, when she said something to the effect of, she was saying, he was like a little brother to me. And I remember I was looking at his texting, and she was kind of intimating that she was being intimate for him in his stead, kind of like Cyrano, writing for her, because it was this woman whom he really wanted, not Erika, but this other woman who, I don't know if that was meant as or if it was true or what. I'm sure it was true. Candace wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, but it was beautiful. And I'm going to say something to you, and I'm going to say this in my own stead, in my own opinion. And please, if you don't like this subject right now, just turn it off and go somewhere else, and I will completely understand. But what I'm about to say is something that is just my opinion. Number one, there is nothing wrong with sex, and there is nothing magical about sex before or after one gets married. Sorry. Never understood that. I don't think anybody, well, I should say that. Some people say they believe it, but more people than not don't. More people than not who espouse that later on, after they're married and after they've lived a bountiful, curious life, they're very quick later on to say, and it's wrong. Don't be like me. I'm sorry. I'm going to say this again. It can be healthy if done correctly, consensually. It can be wonderful and psychically healing and sensual and beautiful, and there's nothing wrong. And it knows no marriage certificate. However, it also has the potential for destroying people. Not because of disease, not because of pregnancy, but because of the emotional impact of it. Because what people don't understand is, especially women, it is something which is more than just an act. It is not like some kind of a connubial sneeze. It is not the release of fluids or per se. No. It's the release of self. It is the release of intimacy. It is putting yourself in a position that you have never found yourself before. Finding somebody who can be exploratory, who can connect with you in ways no one has. You have it. And the enormity and the psychic waves, the undulating, the vicissitudinal ups and downs and I mean, it's wild. And the next day, especially in the case of a woman, if she feels like she was used, if she feels like she was lied to, or in the case of a man, it's awful. It's betrayal. And also, our society puts so much emphasis on this. They always ask a woman, when did you lose your virginity? Did you know, I lost my virginity to a Tilt-A-Whirl concession guy named Toby at a carnival. And, oh my goodness, in the back seat of a Dodge. And they always make it sound like it's, I think sometimes it's unfair. Because believe it or not, those events could later on be, if done healthily or if done consensually, could actually be moments you look back could be kind of exciting. It's not all end. You're not a moral reprobate. You're not some concupiscent, cur or something. If all of a sudden you find yourself doing this before you get married, I'm sorry. That is your option, and you should be respected one way or the other. But we cannot put, guilt and some scarlet letter on people. That being said, what really you have to worry about are people who recognize the innocent. Charlie was innocent. He was the gazelle. He was that little impala on the Serengeti, on the savannah, just walking around, looking for alfalfa sprigs to munch on. And all of a sudden, lurking in the bushes was Erika. She had his side because he talked to her mother, Laurie Franz, and they knew that's the guy. And then one of the others, I forget who they were, the names of those TPUSA people. I know who we can get you to. Him. Get him. He's saving himself. Oh, one of those. Yeah, okay. And one of those should have been taught a little bit more about, Charlie, do you know what a viper is? Do you know what a predator is? A predatrix, if there is. Do you know what predation looks like? Do you know what somebody who has you in their sights? Do you know what this is, Charlie? Do you have any idea of what's going on? You do know this. And I believe from what I was able to intimate or to draw from what Candace said, that's kind of sort of what she was either leading towards or intimating or whatever it was. So while I appreciate tremendously what he said and how it is everybody's right, and you should obviously, especially if you're young or not, depending upon your faith or your conviction, to withhold sex for whatever your rule is. You're in charge, but understand something. You don't want to fall prey to somebody who has you in their sights. You don't want to fall prey to an Erika.